What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Real Estate Served on the Rocks, powered by Living in Colorado, The Mile High Perspective on YouTube, Fathom Realty, and Keller Williams Downtown. My name is Charlie Sardelli, and as always, I'm here with
Jameson Amros,
Oscar Ibarra,
and we are at the Rouge Wine and Bourbon Bistro, as we are every week, our beautiful sponsor here down in Greenwood Village. So come check them out. They are doing an awesome tasting opportunity with Green Dot, Yellow Dot, or Green Spot, Yellow Spot, and Gold Spot. It's $58. You get a 2-ounce pour of each, so you get to taste some awesome Irish whiskey.
You do.
That is hard to find, especially that Gold Spot.
Triple pot distilled.
Yes.
no, what's going on?
So they're running.
I've been out of.
out of the Rouge.
I had to work.
So they're running a special where you can get a flight basically of 3 of the Spot Irish whiskeys: Green Spot, Yellow Spot, and Gold Spot.
Awesome.
Gold Spot is really hard to find, and for a 2-ounce pour of each, it's only $58. Where normally you'd be looking at probably $75, $80 for all 3 of those for a 2-ounce pour. So it's a great deal.
So $50 gets you all 3 of them?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's
Yep.
awesome.
Yep. And on this podcast, guys, as you can tell, we talk about bourbon, talk about whiskey, but we also like to talk about real estate. And on today's episode, the topic that we're going to be going through is a little bit about investing in secondary properties. So what's the difference between short-term and long-term? What do you have to consider when thinking about investing in a secondary property? What does it go into as far as financing, down payments, all that kind of stuff? So stay tuned for that. But as always, before we get into the topic of real estate, we're drinking bourbon. And so this week, Chris isn't here, so we kind of got to pick the bottle that we were drinking today. And we went with Eagle Rare, Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey. And you've heard Jameson talk about it, Oscar talk about it. It's kind of a staple on that top shelf. And the reason that I wanted to go with this bourbon today is because we did have the Rouge Buffalo Trace. And like we said, Eagle Rare, Buffalo Trace, Pappy Van Winkle, Blanton's, they're all made by the same distillery. Mm-hmm. And Eagle Rare, one thing that it keeps to its name, and one reason why people know it as a top shelf whiskey is because it's aged 10 years. And if you're on the video version, you can see how dark this bourbon is. I'm going to go ahead and pop the bottle and pour it out if you guys want to talk about it a little bit.
I mean, it's one of my staples at my house. I love Eagle Rare. I mean, basically the lineage for Buffalo Trace is that entire lineup: Buffalo Trace, Blanton's, E.H. Taylor, Eagle Rare, Pappy Van Winkle, and they're essentially just different
Blanton's.
ages and barrels of each other. That as you go farther and farther into that lineage, technically get better and better whiskey. But Eagle Rare, I don't know how to explain it other than it doesn't taste like a normal 10-year. And I actually, from a price standpoint, I like it better than Blanton's.
I agree. I think for a while there, well, all of bourbon went up, right?
Yes.
Weller's.
I didn't even mention, all the Weller line too.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like it's a pedigree of good bourbon. The Blanton's is a certain rick house, and that's where they bottle in. The story behind that. E.H. Taylor is my favorite out of all of them, but Eagle Rare is very consistent, just all around good. I mean, I've never met anyone that had anything bad to say about Eagle Rare.
It tends to be overpriced.
Yes, and that's where I was going. Sorry,
Yes.
that my mind is everywhere right now. A lot of liquor stores tend to overprice it. I found it for $40 at times. Mm-hmm. Good luck finding it for that cheap.
Yeah, if you're $40-$50, I think it's a good.
Yeah,
you pick it up no matter what.
And for a 10-year, that's great. But people try to sell it for like $100.
Well, and I think that's a good point that you both make, is that Eagle Rare is, and that's what, again, why I wanted to go with this bottle is because it's a top shelf, very known, 10-year aged, and I mean this one is sitting at
barrel pick. This one?
No, this is a regular bottle.
Okay.
Yeah, so this one is sitting at 45%. So it's only 90 proof.
Yeah.
Right, and I mean the barrel pick of the Buffalo that we had was 112.
Correct.
So that,
No.
Wasn't
The
it?
Buffalo was still 90.
Oh no, that was
93.
last week.
That was
a 3/4.
last
Yeah, don't tell me what you had.
Yeah.
Because every time I'm not here, these guys are like, oh man, you missed out. We had this like specialty bottle. It was like $1,000 and it
We're not
tasted
saying
like
nothing.
beautiful unicorn tears.
We're not
Thanks.
saying nothing. But no,
How did you know about the unicorn tears
I
last
don't know.
week?
I don't know, dude.
That sucks.
He's got a mic somewhere in here. What the reason I'm excited for this too is
Those
because
cameras aren't the Rouge's cameras.
yeah.
Those are big brothers.
The reason I want to do this is because it is a staple, but I've never really like tasted Eagle Rare to taste it, to put it up against and review it.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
also I haven't let one sit for the duration to see how that opens. But let's go ahead and I'm gonna get my nose in it. See what we got going on here, Oscar. I'll pass you yours.
Sorry. Thank
No,
you.
you're good. Jameson. All right. Cheers. Just so we don't have to sit up again. I want to see. So this doesn't have like nose notes on it. So I'll be interested to see what you guys pull from it. It does have the tasting notes. So, I mean, right off the bat, the burn is there on the nose, but it's more of a flavor with the burn than it is like an ethanol burn.
You know, it's been, 2 weeks
Mm-hmm.
since I've been back. I missed 2 weeks. Haven't been drinking bourbon either. So, like, my nose is back.
Oh,
For a while there, I
the-
couldn't really smell a
yeah.
lot. And it's
The
clean.
honey.
If I could, like,
Yeah.
the first, it's a very clean
The honey on it.
clean
Like
nose.
A little bit of toffee,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, toffee.
like a orangey, like
Citrus.
yeah,
Definitely a
kinda like
citrus
an
in there.
orange, an orange peel almost.
Vanilla blossoms.
Yep. The oak is coming through, but on like it's very, very low.
Mm-hmm.
It's subtle on the nose.
Yeah, that toffee with that citrus is a unique.
Interesting. Huh.
And the burn's not
No,
bad at
it's
all.
it's funny because I think the last time I had Eagle Rare was like before, like actually sat down and enjoyed it was before we started doing the podcast. So it's
Yeah, because
so,
we haven't had it on the podcast.
no, and it's so crazy like just to see the
it is. No,
evolution
dude,
of it. Like,
it is one of my favorite
Wow.
drinkers.
All right, well, I'm gonna go ahead.
It's
know
also
what?
very dangerous.
Kind of like a Milky Way nougat. kind
Almost
of,
like like a
that kind of candy. What
Caramel.
kind of candy is that?
no, it's like caramel.
What's
I got like a toffee,
nougat.
but
What's a nougat? I mean, what's
I think nougat's just like coffee with like almonds,
maybe it's
or
almonds?
not coffee. Jesus Christ, chocolate with almonds.
There is a chocolate.
Because you know that, like
Yeah.
marshmallowy
Yeah.
kind of. Yeah.
All right,
God, I haven't
cheers.
had a fucking Milky Way in a
long
long
time.
time.
Who eats those? I mean,
Dude, I used to.
Who eats Mars bars?
I mean, I'm always. Hey, here, this is random side as we're talking about these tasting notes. What's your guys' go-to candy bar?
I don't.
I mean, mine's a Reese's.
I used
Candy bar.
That's a candy bar.
That's not a candy bar.
It is a candy bar.
That is a
Reese's
cup.
is a cup.
It is a cup. No, candy
what
bar.
other
Rectangle.
What other category?
Rectangle.
Am I gonna put it in?
Like a
Is
long-
it its
like
own
a
candy
long-
cup?
Yes.
Are there other candy cups?
No,
That's what I'm saying. So I,
I mean,
have
Reese's
to
kind of monopolized the cup.
they do.
There is no other.
Yeah,
put,
you
so it's a
can't-
candy bar.
No,
it's just
not.
in cups.
It's not a candy bar.
The packaging is a bar.
No, it's two circles.
No, I'm saying
Is
if
Kit Kat a
without-
bar?
Just
Yes.
I can see that more as a bar.
Exactly.
But-
a Reese's cup is different.
But I'm saying
No,
if you look at
no.
the packaging, if you don't open it up, you don't know it's two
What
cups.
if it's
it looks like
what
a
if
bar.
it's a Reese's mini? Is that also a candy bar? If they're this big?
the individual?
Yeah.
Uh,
See?
okay.
Exactly.
All right,
No.
fine. No, you know what?
I think Reese's is
Reese's-
more in the category of like a Rolo.
Reese's does
It's kind of
make
like a truffle, right?
a bar.
Yes.
Reese's does make a bar.
Okay,
that you
well,
can break
you're
off.
not allowed. Pick something
okay,
else.
if I have to pick Snickers.
Okay, Oscar.
I mean, I used to be a big Baby Ruth fan,
Okay.
but
Yeah.
I haven't
That's
seen a
because,
Baby Ruth.
that's
in a
because you
while.
play baseball. That's why.
Maybe I don't know. maybe.
I'm a Twix man.
Really?
I love Twix too.
Left to
Twix are
right.
good.
Oh,
Twix,
left.
it's Kit Kats.
Fuck right, Twix.
Oh man, that's awesome.
I mean, did you ever eat the Zero bars?
Yes.
Talk about a weird
That
candy
is
bar.
weird, yes.
It's like a white Snickers.
No, the weirdest candy bar was the, is it Paydays that have
Oh,
the
yeah.
nuts on the outside? And
It's a
then the
nut
chocolate?
roll.
Yeah.
That's I don't like that. I don't like
That
that.
makes
at all.
And then there
uncomfortable.
was one that had
It's
like
very
there was
uncomfortable.
a payday-ish kind of
I think it was
that
Payday,
had
right?
a
Yeah.
It was like a big hunk.
Yeah.
Remember those?
Yeah, yeah.
But it was like a payday,
Yeah.
and it was called a nut roll or something.
Tell
you
I was
what I
like,
hate.
I don't
Weird.
want to eat
I've
it
always
because of
hated
the
it.
name.
I think it's just a texture thing. Almond Joys.
Yeah. Well, I don't like almond.
I
don't
like almond
almonds.
joys. Mounds, not so much.
See, I don't like almond joy because of the.
Don't they have coconut?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
the
gross.
coconut shavings
Absolutely
and the
not.
almond joy.
No.
I don't know texture wise.
I don't like how you say almond.
That could be a whole nother episode.
So,
okay.
sorry.
Well,
All right,
we're,
sorry.
while we're on the
You're-
subject, hold on. Then there's Milky Way. Like Milky Way had.
I don't
like-
mind Milky Ways.
No,
Milky Ways
I
are
like the caramel.
But
and
but
Milky Way.
then there's Three Musketeers. And
I
it's-
like Milky
see,
Ways more than Three Musketeers.
I want some
Yeah.
kind. I want more texture. That's why I always had
Yeah.
issues with Milky Ways
Yeah.
and Three Musketeers. They're both good in their own respect.
True.
But Snickers have like the peanuts and
So-
stuff.
We should
tune
do a
in,
random
guys.
episode
So
of like
tune in,
a
guys. We're gonna do a candy review episode.
like
I guess.
a March Madness, and we'll get all the
All the
Dude, we
all
need
the
to do
candy
March
bars.
Madness.
Yeah,
You-
actually, we should do that.
Chocolate, I'm down.
I mean, it's
With
my
the
birthday
bourbons,
next
though.
weekend.
Yeah.
Next weekend? Yeah, damn, next weekend.
Okay.
My
I like
birthday
you, what,
weekend.
38.
16. The 16th. Dude, we won't talk about how old I am.
Well, with that being said, I haven't even taken a sip yet. So
With
I'm gonna
that
go-
said, age-wise, they're releasing a 20-year.
Yeah, there you go.
supposedly.
So good.
there you go. All right, let me get
So
the sip
good.
in.
Wow.
The second sip, totally different than the first one.
The burn is almost like cinnamony.
It
Cinnamon
makes
candy.
sense with the nose because that's why I said like the burn is there, but it's not like an alcohol burn. It's almost like a spice burn.
Like
But-
a candy.
But I get
cinnamon
that.
burn.
You get that leather,
Mm-hmm.
like that, just like
Yeah.
chewing
But
on
the
a
first-
belt, like a really
yeah.
old
The
belt.
first taste, like your first notes,
Yeah.
it's very crisp, clean, and sweet.
Yes.
I was gonna say I'm gonna be honest with you. I didn't like the first sip.
Yeah.
I didn't like the mouthfeel of the first sip. Like it was almost like it had too much oil in it. Like it
Yes.
was too light.
Yes.
That,
But now,
yeah, but that's why I said the second sip is completely different.
It's
And
very light, but
Mm-hmm.
it's still complex.
yeah,
Mhm.
I still get that caramel on the back end, but I get that leather oaky,
like
barn,
like when you think of a bourbon,
like Yellowstone feel.
that's what I'm saying. When you think of bourbon, that flavor, like that wood, leather, like just that
like
really,
whoever's serving this to us should be behind the bar with a towel
Yep.
and some overalls
black overalls,
and
with
just
a big
cleaning
beard.
and
Yeah.
cleaning a glass.
Yes,
I think that's what
With
it
the
is.
big mustache.
Yep,
Yeah,
with a
I'm
big
down with that.
mustache.
I'm down with that.
And swingy doors.
swing. What is it?
Like
Barn doors.
Yeah,
No.
no, like
Saloon doors.
Carousel
Saloon
doors.
doors.
Saloon
yeah.
doors,
Saloon
yeah.
doors.
Saloon
Exactly.
doors.
Yes. Hey,
Yeah.
you
I
want
can't
some
get
Eagle
that-
Rare,
that
and,
boy?
and a spit can somewhere.
What's the sweet taste? I'm feeling a little rusty right now. What's that sweet taste in it?
I still get the toffee. Like I get that. Like it's like a dark. I keep going back to that dark chocolate.
It's more of a
but
fruit.
it's that toffee with that citrus.
It's more. Yeah, it's
Like not an orange, but an orange rind.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
Yeah, like
you get the.
like
It's
the
a little
pit-
bitter.
Like a kumquat.
I can honestly say I've never had.
You've
a
never had a
before.
kumquat?
I probably had a kumquat. Didn't know it was a kumquat.
Oh,
But at the same time,
I
what a
just
great
don't like the
name,
name,
for a
but,
what a great
yeah.
name for a vegetable.
Also sounds like something out
it's
of
not
the
a
Kama
vegetable.
Sutra.
It's a mini orange.
Yeah. Oh, it's a fruit.
It's
I
a
thought
little
those
orange.
I thought
Huh.
those are cuties.
No. They're little. They're like
Oh, like that
Tangerines?
small.
yeah.
Oh.
They look
Like
like,
a grape?
cherry tomatoes.
Oh,
Really?
Yeah, but they're
Huh.
like an orange. Look, I mean,
Where do you
Okay.
get them?
uh,
Like where do
King
they grow?
Soopers?
No, like where do they grow?
I have
Okay.
no clue.
So,
Not
Never heard of a
we
botanist.
got-
kumquat farm.
Oh, it gave me the nose. The nose. So the nose is complex. Aromas of toffee,
Ooh, got it.
hints of orange peel,
Oh, yes.
herbs, honey, leather, and oak.
Okay.
The taste is bold, dry, and delicate with notes of candied almonds,
Almonds.
and very rich
Almonds.
Jesus. It's not the
Charlie,
Almond Brothers.
Almonds.
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 The L doesn't exist in the Northeast.
So how do you pronounce the Almond Brothers?
Almond Brothers.
Almond Brothers, because it's
That's-
two L's. Almond Brothers. This is almonds. Wait, how do you say it?
Almonds.
Almonds?
Yes.
Just sounds like so much effort to say almonds.
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 It's in Boston. I mean, my almonds.
Leave it alone. No, but I think we're. It's funny because it
What was
says
the
the finish-
tasting notes though besides dry?
It says
complex?
dry, delicate with notes of candied almonds, very rich cocoa.
Okay. So
And
there's
then
that.
the finish
I-
is dry.
Yeah. So it's that dark chocolate.
Yeah.
I think is what
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting.
Yep.
Like
Interesting. I don't know, and maybe I'm not giving it enough credit. Just off of the first taste, I don't know how well this is going to open. I feel like
the sweetness will come forward.
yeah, it
Yes.
will. Okay.
Just by experience of me drinking multiple bottles of this, it will
Okay.
open.
Okay.
will
Awesome.
open.
Awesome. All right. So let's go ahead and get into the topic for today's
Very floral.
episode. And we're going to talk to you a little bit about like secondary property investment, then taking that in and short-term difference between short-term, long-term rentals, that kind of stuff. So let's say let's kind of take them through the experience. Oscar,
Hold on.
They own their. Oh,
I
you found it.
I kind of blocked you out. I don't know what you just said the last 5 minutes. Kumquat. For the viewers, it's a little mini orange.
That's an
They're
Why don't
literally
they just call
this
it a
big.
mini orange?
the fuck.
They're little. They're
That's
like this
wild.
big.
Oh,
I've never had.
that
a
makes me
kumquat.
feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, I've never. Wait,
I don't
Yeah,
like
they're
it.
little tiny mini. You
just-
just eat them.
huh?
Rind
Do you
them off.
peel them?
It's like an orange with dwarfism.
Oh.
Just eat them.
Like a monkey.
Yeah, they're like they're
Wait,
the
you
size
don't
of a
peel 'em?
grape. You don't peel them. I've never peeled them.
You just eat.
I mean, I don't eat them daily. I've had them like maybe 3 times in my life.
Oscar's got a bowl of kumquats.
Yeah, I'm like going to come over. You want some kumquats? I'm just popping them in like chips.
He specializes in growing.
I mean, I
kumquats.
don't know. Maybe you do peel them. I've had them like 2-3 times in my life.
Do you have any chips and
but they're-
salsa? No.
I
but
got
I got a
kumquats.
surprise for you, baby.
Just open
I
your
got
mouth and throw it
kumquats.
in.
They're like, do you like oranges? Do you like grapes? Do I have a surprise
got
for
something
you?
perfect for
I
you.
mean, but they're very memorable. You'll know what they taste like. They're very potent, citrusy.
I love it. I love it. All right. So, all right,
Kumquats, ladies and gentlemen.
Here we go.
I don't even know what
We're-
we're talking about anymore.
All right. So basically, what we want to
So-
do is I want to take you through, take it through kind of like you're thinking about buying a secondary property, whether that to be a vacation home. And let's be honest, that's where a lot of people think about buying secondary properties is vacation homes. So Oscar, what does that look like from a finance standpoint? What is different about buying a secondary property versus buying your
Right.
home?
Everybody thinks, and this is going to be a little bit of a miscellaneous real estate kind of episode, but everybody thinks that I'm going to buy a vacation home. I need to put 20% down because it's an investment home, blah, blah, blah. Well, there's second homes. And for the longest time, I was under the impression that it had to be that you could live there as well as your primary home, and it had to be for work, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I did do some quick Q&A with a couple of my lenders, and they're like, it doesn't really matter the distance because I thought there was like a 100-mile radius or something like that away from your original home.
Mm-hmm.
Not the case. I was told, and your down payment's only 10%. So when you buy an investment home, it's usually 20%.
Okay.
So there's one of the financing is a lot easier. I don't want to say easier, but less stringent than if you're buying an investment home. But my big aha was if you could buy a bunch of secondary homes, you work remotely. You could say that you have
So then-
you have business in these cool places.
So then, Oscar, let me ask, because in my mind, to buy your first house, we have down payment assistance programs, we have all this kind of stuff. Is there anything set up for secondary properties like that, or is the mindset more of, oh, you already own one, and if you can buy a secondary property, you don't really need that assistance?
I'm sure there's some stuff you can
Uh-huh.
do similar. I don't think like 100% financing.
Yeah.
That probably is not going to fly. But as far as using it for your life, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, but then we're talking about short-term, long-term investments, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering if you could just buy it as your secondary home and then end up leasing it out.
Yeah.
I mean, that could be a
I know.
hack.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, so one thing that I do know about secondary properties is there are stipulations, especially in Colorado, around when you're buying a secondary property, you have to have proof of like residency, that you live not 100 miles, but that you live near it, and you can't purchase it and then rent it immediately. Like
Correct.
you can't buy the house and then
Right.
immediately list it for rent. There's like a grace period, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
suffer through the pains of paying 2 mortgages for about 2-3 months if you can.
I mean, what if you
I know.
have family members that can occupy the dwelling for you,
Yeah.
but you have mail sent there?
And that's one thing. So one of the biggest back in the day when there was a lot of HUD homes, a lot of people would buy them, and then they don't really follow up on you. But when it was a HUD home, there was a lot of eyes on it. Like if you went in there and then used it as a rental or right away leased it, they would crack down on you, and that's a federal offense, right? When you do an FHA loan, yes, you're not supposed to, down payment assistance and then lease it as an investment property. If you have just one, there's not going to be a lot of eyes on you. Is it ethical? Probably not. But the only way they can tell is if you have multiple, a lender's not going to give you 2 FHA loans, right? So with that said, if you have a secondary home, I don't know what the criteria would be of someone coming down and saying, hey, you're not living in this property. I mean, how are they going to prove it, right? Ethically, you don't really want to do that. But
there are ways to manage it if you want to buy that
Yeah.
secondary property.
Yeah, I mean, I think if we want to start the conversation, the important thing to understand is as somebody looking to invest in real estate, you want to really, really clarify your goals,
Yes.
right? Because as we've talked about, there's second homes, there's short-term versus long-term, there's vacation rentals, so on and so forth. But if you don't have a clear picture of like what the goal is,
Yeah.
then it's very hard to even get started. And
Well,
when I say
and-
what the goal is,
Yeah.
I mean, for example, let's say you want cash flow, okay? Or if you don't want cash flow, you want appreciation on the home value.
Yeah.
Or if you are looking at a vacation home, is it a vacation home that you want to be able to enjoy occasionally, or is it something that you want completely hands off, so on and so
Well,
forth?
and
Because
that-
it's going to change
Yeah.
your, what do I want to say, your strategy on how you're going to invest in those different types of properties.
And that's what I was going to say, though, is it's funny because we've been saying like a vacation home, right? And I want to make the distinction. There's a difference between an investment property and a vacation home, like
Correct.
a significant
And a second home.
and a second home. A significant difference between those. Yes, they're all secondary properties, like the second place that you're going to buy, but a vacation home doesn't have, like what Jameson said, cash flow. So
Right.
when you buy that vacation home, you have to understand that you're going to be paying a second mortgage and you're only going to be living there for a month, 2 month, weeks at a time. So like that's something that you have to consider is, am I going to make this investment in a property and then let it sit and not have cash flow on
And
it?
that's how the birth of the dreaded, what are they called? They come at you and they sell a timeshare,
Timeshare, yeah.
right? Because I don't know what your average American, I guess, will vacation X amount of times, and then you spend this money, and then you buy a timeshare, and you have partial ownership. Well, again, miscellaneous real estate. There is partial ownership here in Colorado in the mountains that you and maybe 4 other people own a quarter deed of a property, and then
Yep.
you use it a certain amount a year. So that's when vacations get kind of weird, right?
Absolutely. And
I don't know what's your take on it. How do you feel, both of you, as just a consumer and as a real estate agent, and personally, about 1, timeshare, and 2, partial deeded ownership?
I think timeshares work for certain situations, especially. So Alicia's dad, he plays pool. He's a professional pool player, so he travels to Vegas regularly for the tournaments and stuff like that. And for him, I think it's a phenomenal option to have a timeshare because he can say, I have part ownership. I have a place that I can stay when I need to go there, but I don't have to worry about the full cost of it, the full brunt. And he's, as far in the 3.5 years that I've been in the family, he's never really had a problem with the timeshare. Where most problems you see with timeshares, like you were saying, is I want to go. Oh well, I want to go. What are my time frames? When can I go? You literally have other people that you have to coordinate around. When it comes to like secondary properties, I don't know. And maybe this is the hippie in me. I think that there should be a limit to the amount of properties that you can own with certain stipulations, right? And only because we do have such a shortage in homes, and a lot of people are saying, oh, well, BlackRock comes in and buys this many, or Blackstone, whatever it is, and buys up these houses and makes them rentals. And it's, from the report that I saw recently, it was something like 21% of individuals that own 10%, like 10 homes or less, are the ones that are buying up the properties, which would be considered an individual investor, like you or I going to buy and having this portfolio versus like somebody developing like a community, right? Like home builders. So I don't know. It's weird. Like I don't think that I've experienced enough of life and monetary freedom to see the benefit of like owning multiple properties, if I'm being honest with you. So to me, it still comes off as a little greedy if you own more than, let's say 2 or 3 homes. But again, I haven't experienced that yet. I don't really understand and know what that looks like investment-wise, passive income and stuff like that. So that's kind of where I'm sitting.
Well, let's take a look at it this way then. I'm just going to play Oscar's role, devil's advocate. Rents increase and home prices increase because of supply and demand, right? And if you take a look at most of the mom and pop developers and house flippers and investors, they are going into areas that are usually underserved, and they're going in and they are renovating homes that they are now allowed to rent out to individuals that are looking to rent. and do it at a cost that is not astronomically high. Because if you're BlackRock or somebody, right, and you're going in and buying these batches of homes,
You're in for profit.
And you're doing it in areas that have higher home values. The mom and pop investors, because they're doing fix and flips and they're on a more constrained budget, they need to look at the lower end of the inventory as far as price and condition. So if you take those people out and you still have those, don't want to call them dilapidated, but stressed houses, and nobody's going in to renovate them, but you have large companies going in and buying an entire tract of land, putting a Century Homes community on it that starts at $600,000, and not renting those out or renting them out at a really, really elevated cost, you're not allowing renters that need the homes access to the homes in the areas that they can afford. Does that make sense?
So basically what you're saying is mom and pop investors, the people who do own 10 or less, they're helping the community because they're not
contributing to the supply.
Okay.
Which is what we need.
Right.
And they're contributing to the supply at a price point that most people that need to rent have to look anyway.
But again, we're talking. I think now we're getting out of the realm though of secondary property for short-term rentals, because it's basically you're talking specifically about fix and flips. Like if they're fixing and flipping, not holding on to that as a short or long-term.
Well, no,
rental.
you can fix it, right, and rehab it and then rent it out
And
as a
believe it or
long-term rental.
To piggyback on what he's saying, there is people that do it out of just, hey, we're going to help out. I was involved in a transaction where, I don't know if they want me to share their names, but they're friends of mine from school, both of them. I played baseball with the husband, and they were offered Regis, the college, was going to let go of a lot of their land. They owned a lot of land over in North Denver, and they started selling it to first their employees. She worked for Regis at their price, which is not market. It was below market. And they were buying it as an investment. And he went. We took a look at it and we put it together. It was not traditional real estate because there was a lot of legality how they were doing it, because you're not really supposed to do something like that legally. So it was a commercial lender that took care of the Regis side of it. But they bought it to rent it to not quote unquote low income, but someone that would need it. She didn't want to make a profit. Like, she didn't want to get rich off of it. He wanted to start his investment portfolio, but she was very adamant, the wife, we're going to rent it at or below market rents. We're not doing it for profit. We're doing it to help the community, because it is in North Denver. That's where they live.
Got it.
So they were like, we're going to rent it out to someone that's deserving and needs it, and we're not going to gouge it on it. As long as it pays the mortgage, that we're okay with that. So, there's people that go out there and do that too.
Yeah.
Which in the long run, it will be their retirement when they need to, but they're helping the community.
The low volume renters will go in, and they are the ones that are going into these displaced communities, and they're buying these properties and they're fixing them up to rent, right? Like, that's just what they're doing. So I do think that even if they have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 single family homes, they are contributing to the supply to continue to keep rents under control.
Got it.
Versus if they don't do that, then you either just take supply away, which now obviously cost goes up, or you have somebody come in, scrape it like they do. You go down anywhere in, I don't know what, off of 6th in Colorado, right? And you'll see cottage, just mid-century farmhouse with a black tin roof that's $3.5 million. Like, who is that serving, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's the case. But again, when we're talking from an investment standpoint, that's why it's important to clarify what your goals are. Because if you go into and let's say you want a long-term investment on a house, right? Well, you're going to get one of two things. You're very rarely going to get both. You're either going to get appreciation that's going to outstrip the market appreciation in the area, or you're going to get cash flow. But you're not going to get both.
Let me ask you one thing, both of you. Where do you draw the line, or what is considered neighborhood improvement, and when does it turn into gentrification?
Gentrification, I think.
Is it a term that just got a bad rap?
I think gentrification turns into when the affordability in that specific area gets out of whack based on the home values that are coming in.
So it's a fine line to where you clean it up enough to where it just takes off.
And it's also.
And where do you want to keep it, and why do we want to keep it? It's kind of a weird scenario, right?
And I think gentrification is it's gotten a bad rap only because it increases the cost of living in the area. Like in my mind, that's what gentrification means is so many businesses, companies threw money into this area that the people who were living here now cannot afford to live here as they did before they came in and gentrified. And I mean, South Park has a beautiful example of that. It's like a 3-episode stint. But I think that for me is it has to be, if you're bringing higher level homes, if you're making the cost more effective, then the job market has to follow, the pay has to follow. And if it doesn't, that's when you see the negative side of gentrification of we're just making this more expensive and now the people who could afford it before can't afford it now.
Well, gentrification is the PC term.
Yeah.
Essentially, you're displacing people.
Yes.
Is what it is, right? Mm-hmm. And again, is it all their fault? No, right? The money's going to flow where the people are going to make more money.
Again, free
North
market.
Denver Highlands.
Right, but but it will displace those individuals, and I think it's to your question, Oscar. It's I wouldn't say it's a fine line. I think it's more of a delicate balance.
Yeah.
Because you want to go in and have community improvements, but community improvements require increase in taxes. If most things are funded by property taxes, you need increase in home values. In order to increase in home values, you have to go in and buy more expensive homes. People aren't going to move into more expensive homes unless the businesses and the economics justify them going into that space. So it's this weird balance and cycle where you have to have, that balance of, okay, we're going to improve the neighborhood and we're going to bring in more expensive homes, but we're also going to keep areas that are affordable. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. The problem is building affordable housing, like we've talked about forever, is just not profitable for the most part, right? So that's what I'm saying. I think it depends on your goal.
I think, and this just came to thought, I think it might be a generational thing too. For the most part, the term, homeowner occupant is not going to have the pride of ownership. I think that's kind of gone away just because if you look at the renters in certain communities, they're renters, but it's a beautiful community.
Well, and not only that, I think it's also changed in an element where, to your point, it's, it used to be buy a house, stay there, white picket fence, raise a family. But I think culture has switched in a way now where renting is better for some people's lifestyles. And when they're
100%.
ready to purchase, they can. But, I have friends that are more nomadic than anything. They travel state to state. They do ski resorts. Then they go down and they bartend in the Keys, and renting works for them because that's their lifestyle. So I do think that to your point, it has shifted generationally as, of course, you see more younger millennials and Gen Zers prioritizing experience over investment. And I do think that that's where the rental market is seeing more of a revival in short-term and long-term rentals, specifically because people are willing to move around more and owning that piece of property isn't as important. And let's be honest, owning property does come with more than just a mortgage, homeowner's insurance, stuff. Like you have upkeep, you have your lawn, you have all the stuff that goes into it. So when we're at a point in the United States where it's been the most expensive to live in the U.S. as it's ever been in U.S. history, but people are prioritizing experiences over profit, I do think that is why the rental market is more appealing to investors, but then also to renters in general.
So what's the difference between, just to kind of go over it and bring it back, short-term versus like investing in short-term rental versus investing in a long-term rental? So like fundamentally, what are the differences?
I think one of the biggest differences is profit margin and risk.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
When you're going long-term, you have a renter for a full year. You have
so hold on, Oscar. Before we go into it, I want to kind of
just define it.
Yeah, short-term, long-term rental. So when we say short-term rentals, what we're talking about: Airbnb, VRBO, vacation rentals. Those areas where you're going to go and you're going to rent a place for 4 days.
Well, you own the home.
Yes.
And your clientele is renting it for a short amount of time.
I believe less than 60 days is considered
like
short term.
Yeah. Yep. And then long-term rentals is what you standard think of apartments, townhomes, condos, rent that will be elongated 6 months to 12 months contract beyond, leasing basis.
Yep.
Well, and it's the lease term because you could do a short term on a house.
Yes.
There's VRBOs.
But and that's what I mean. But it comes down to the owner of the home, and you can do. I mean, I've seen people rent an Airbnb for 3 months, 6 months at a time. But then you're just using Airbnb as the platform to do a longer term rental, right?
Right. So if that's what if that's,
Traveling nurses.
if that's the fundamental difference, then from the standpoint of somebody that's looking to potentially get into real estate investing, why would somebody do one over the other? Or what are some of the
So again,
what are
profit
some
margin.
of the pitfalls,
I think you make a lot more money, higher risk with short term.
Okay.
Because if let's say you have a condo up in Vail, you do short term VRBOs. It's very seasonal, and you're gonna make a ton of money during that time, but then it's seasonal. But you can still do that in Denver. It's going to be a little seasonal because you're going to rely on conventions, and then you're going to be booked out. But I think that might be a little more consistent because there's more going on in the city. People traveling, a lot of tourism. With that, same with Vail, but in the summer you're not probably going to get as much traffic. But you're going to get, let's say that you make, I don't know, $6,000 a month with the short term, and then if you take that same condo and you do long term, you're only going to be charging standard rate rent, which will be, I don't know, maybe $2,200 a month.
Okay.
So there's a big difference, but you got to look at it in the long term with both. You have your long term rental, which will net you X amount a year, and then your short term might be the same.
Well,
because of the off season.
And I think from
but
the
if it's
owner,
not, it might be a little bit more.
From an investor owner's perspective, I know for me, a short-term rental doing short-term rentals would be more appealing if I then owned that property in a place that I enjoy going to. And this is where I bring
off season, you go stay there.
Exactly. That's where I bring it back to, if you're making an investment on a secondary property, that person that's saying, oh, this is my vacation home, they go there maybe 2 to 3 months out of the year, but then they're just paying mortgage. They're losing money for 6 to 8 months of the year. So I think that short-term rentals are a lot more appealing to somebody who is going to go, you know what, I would love to own property in this area, but I don't. But I want to make money on it. I don't want to throw money at it.
And the difference is, we've had this conversation at home, is so if you're going to do a short-term rental, you can't fall in love with it or the stuff inside because other people are going to use it. So you're like, it's mine, but it's really not. It's an investment. If I have a vacation home that I just want to use, it's my stuff, and you take the loss and you take the hit. You really don't rent that out. So that's the biggest thing is the emotional attachment to the property.
Well, and I think
when it's your vacation or it's an investment vacation.
Well, you said it before is the risk versus profit, right?
Right.
And I think that comes from I know I've been in Airbnb. I've stayed at Airbnbs where they've said, hey, we need an extra 4 hours to clean it. The group before you kind of destroyed the place. And I think to your point, that's exactly that. It's not when Oscar says risk. When you have people staying in your homes, they could steal a TV, they could break a TV, they could break a bed. It's a lot more management upfront cost with short-term rentals. You got to clean it, pay for we all know what's been going on with Airbnb's cleaning fees. Some people are charging fucking $400 and then they expect you to take out the trash.
That guy that threw that big party that just crushed the floor. Mm-hmm. That's insane.
Yeah. But that's what Oscar means when he's talking about risk with short-term versus long-term. When you have a tenant in there, you actually tend to build a relationship with your tenants.
How much background check do they do on you when you do short-term?
It's
little to none.
Sign it into an app. Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
So when you do long-term, you do some. Sometimes they do a criminal background, they do a credit background, and not necessarily your credit score is going to get you it, but they'll see, they're looking for that you pay stuff on time.
Yeah.
You could have a trash credit score and still get a house, a rental. So they do a little bit more, and then maybe the interview process, and you get someone nice, they're going to take care of your stuff long term.
Yeah, well,
it's their home, and it's pride of living there.
And with a long-term rental, I think there's a mindset for people who are staying in there that's completely different than short-term. Short-term, people are usually going there to party, they're going to have alcohol, they're going to have a bunch of friends there. Long-term, that's their home, like you're saying. Like they take pride in actually living there.
Correct.
And a big difference between short-term and long-term for me is long-term, because there's less risk and less investment over time. Obviously, you got to do regular upkeep, and we always hear about landlord specials. But I think you're relying more on equity growth with long-term than you are with short-term.
Yes. So here's the other caveat. When you are looking at, let's say I've decided short-term is the way I want to go. I want to buy something that I can turn into an Airbnb, and I want to turn a profit, right? Because if you're going to short-term, to your point, you'll get the appreciation, right? Just because everything appreciates in real estate, but you're looking for cash flow.
Yep.
You're not looking for the appreciation. You're looking for, hey, my mortgage is X amount. I want to make 30% on top of that, whatever, right? But the difference is, if you want a profitable short-term property that has the potential for success in Airbnb, VRBO, whatever it is, where are those areas usually located?
In
Tourism or big cities.
tourism dense area.
And what does that mean for the home prices that you're looking at?
Higher.
Go high.
And
Right.
I love it. I love that you were going that direction because that's exactly what I was going to say. Is it's almost the nature of short-term rentals to be profit driven because you're not gonna go to these dilapidated places
Correct.
where it's 35 minutes away from a.
I'm not having an Airbnb in Commerce City.
You're not going to do a
throwing it out
VRBO in
there, right?
Hugo, Colorado?
or reunion.
I mean, elk hunting out your backyard. Why not?
Pheasant hunting.
it's a very niche
But yes,
market.
that is where you want to look, is because you're going, okay, well, I can make a profit here. I want to say the two areas everybody thinks about immediately when we talk about
Ski.
Okay, we'll go three. Is Arizona, ski towns, and Florida.
Yep.
Right. So if you go to Arizona right now, part of the reason, even though there's astronomical run up in home prices, part of the reason they're not seeing a massive decline is because so many people golf year round and they want to be in Arizona for 6 months out of the year when it's 80 degrees and sunny, when we're at -2 and 60-mile-an-hour winds, right? But because of that, if you go and buy something in and around Phoenix, Gilbert, Scottsdale, wherever that is, Flagstaff, you're going to pay a premium on the home price, which now means, okay, well, I'm going to make a profit.
Make more money fast.
But my mortgage might double. So instead of paying $3,000
Those
a month,
houses are beautiful
I'm
down
paying
there, though.
$6,000 a month.
Mesa.
Right?
Man.
Exactly. But now you got to, because you're an Airbnb or a VRBO, and let's say you're out of state, now you have to look at property management companies and you have to start paying a cut to them because you don't want to be the one that's got to find all these different vendors to do the cleanup and to do the maintenance and to take care of the pool and do all these different things. So now that goes into the pro forma of, do I want to actually invest, right? So that's why I'm saying you want to have a very specific goal, because if you do long-term and you say, I want, single family home that I can rent out to people for a year, 2 years, whatever it is, just know that that's not going to replace your 9 to 5 income, right? It won't. It's going to give you cash flow. It's going to have somebody
What did
paying
ours say
down
about
that.
5 years? 5 years in, you'll start really reaping the benefits.
So that being said, and I want Oscar to touch on this because he's done these and he's done these multiple times. Part of defining your goals from an investment standpoint is working numbers and figuring out financially what makes sense. So Oscar, if you don't mind, can you go through what a pro forma is in relation to looking to purchase an investment property?
So a pro forma is what you're pretty much the budget going into an investment property. You're going to have cap rates. What's the percentage of what you're going to make on what you invest, your cash on cash return. Cap rate is net operating income divided by property asset value. A lot of the investors that I talk to want a cap rate of 6.5 plus.
What does that mean?
That means when you do your net operating income on what they're gonna bring in comparison to what they're putting down in their acquisition costs is. So 6%, 6.5% cap rate is a good investment for them. Plus, if they could see it in the 13th, 14th, that's great. That means you're getting more money. But I was going through my
do a quick number.
You caught me a little off guard because I was looking through my old notes.
Okay.
Because we did have a percentage on what you should set aside for maintenance.
Mm-hmm.
So, and the way you do that is, you got to look at what the age of your roof is, your furnace is, your water heater, when you're going to start having to replace that. And then you calculate how long or if you have to do it tomorrow, what's that going to cost you? And then you incorporate that into the rents, and it'll go into an account and accumulate. So when it's done, you're ready for it and it doesn't catch you, off guard. And then, you're paying more money into it. That's on top of where you're going to pay an asset management company. I don't know how much they're charging these days. I haven't talked to a
10%.
Is it 10% now?
10%.
Oh yeah, your wife is in that. So you calculate 10% of of the rent that you're going to pay them, which is well worth it because it could be a headache. They take care of keeping it rented, marketing it.
Contracts.
Do they do the
The lease.
the credit checks and all that?
Yeah.
So they take care of a lot. And believe it or not, it is a lot.
It's a lot.
And it's very cumbersome unless you are a master at Excel and you like going through that. It's well worth every dime.
So let's do kind of like a mock, just quick. If you're gonna invest in a home. So Jameson, I see you looking at some stuff.
Well, no. So let's take, I don't know. Let's say it's a $450,000 house, single family home. Okay, Oscar, just off the top of your head, what do you think market rent is for a 3-2 $450,000 home in Denver Metro?
Denver Metro 3.2.
Mm-hmm.
Let's call it 3,200.
Okay, so $3,200 in rent. Right now, you just talked about it. Your cap expenses. How much do you withhold per year to make sure that you can deal with maintenance issues, a blown AC?
That's what I was looking for. I mean,
normally it's like 10%, right? 10% a year off of your gross rent.
That would be
roughly
close, yeah.
Okay, so let's say
Good standard to go with.
Yeah, so let's say $3,200 a month is what you're grossing in rent, and then you want to hold back, so you times it by 12. So your gross rent's $38,000, right? That's what you're collecting. Now you want to take 10% of that and put it to the side every single year. So let's call it $4,000, right? So if I take $4,000 out of that, now I'm at, my gross is $34,400. That's how much I'm making total in rent when I take out my expenses just for market or for maintenance, right? So what other expenses do you take out of your rent?
We'll do another. Would you take another 10% out for the management company?
Depends. You could.
So, I mean, obviously you have your payment's going to have your taxes, your insurance. So, utilities.
Okay.
Depends on,
your agreement, right?
Yeah. I mean, you have Excel, gas. That might be in the HOAs already if you have an HOA. If it's a house,
Internet.
Internet.
Well, let's say your property management company's 12%.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's do
right?
that. They take
So
care of all
your
that.
gross rent, so 12% of 38,000.
Mm-hmm.
That's 4,500. So now we've got 34,500 minus another 4,500. So now my gross rent for the year is $30,000 on this $450,000 house.
And then I'd like to check these numbers because I had a 3% vacancy.
Sure.
You have to put that in.
Yep.
Okay.
So, that's a loss.
And 3% on what, 12 months? Let's say.
Yeah.
So what is that? 97%. So it's 97% occupancy rate. So 38,500 times 0.97. So now I'm at 37,000. So that's what you bank on, saying that your home's going to be unoccupied 3% of the time. Minus the 4,500, minus the 4,500. So now you're at 28,345 is your gross rent after your expenses. Mm-hmm. So you take that number and you divide it by whatever the market value of the home is. So let's say the market value is 450,000.
Property asset value.
Right? So 450,000, which means you come up with a cap rate of about 6.3%.
So,
not bad.
No, not
right?
bad.
Not bad. The other way you can do it, and Oscar alluded to it, is you can take how much you invested in the property, so the down payment, versus the rent that you're getting, and that's going to give you your cash on cash return, right? So essentially you want to say, yes, I'm financing, so we just said it's what, 20% for an investment property minimum. Yep. Mm-hmm. So that's $90,000. Well, if I invested $90,000 and my gross rent, we just said is 28, right?
So 28 divided by
28,500 divided by 90,000
should be higher.
Cash on cash return is about 3.1%.
3.1%?
Mm-hmm. Which is not great. Right? No. You want to be you kind of want to be
You want your cash on cash to be higher than your cap rate.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
You want to be at least 6, if not higher. So you want your cap rate over 6, you want your cash on cash return. These are all calculators you guys can find online as well.
Very easily.
But it gives you an idea because a lot of people, and the reason I think this is an important conversation to have, a lot of people will go, well, this house is $250,000. I'm going to buy it because it's cheap and I'm going to make money. It's not that simple.
Yes.
Right? Mm-hmm. So, Oscar, I know I caught you off guard, but when you say pro forma and you look at the numbers, I know obviously cap rate is one of them, but as an investor, somebody who's purchased investment property, with that pro forma, what are the things you're looking for to see if it makes sense on paper as far as financials go?
Typically, when I'm doing a pro forma, it's multi-unit. For example, the one that I did down in Sunnyside, I had to do acquisition, build out and all of that, and then what it was going to do projected out, right? So I had to calculate in the incomes, which were every unit sold, what the market rate was going to do, real estate fees. I put 1% for concessions, hold cost, acquisitions, and everything. So you're projecting numbers, how it's going to benefit you.
Yep.
Right. With it's called offer memorandum, an OM. You're getting everything up front, so that's going to have rent rolls, how much you're renting, utilities, your net operating expenses, and net operating incomes, and then you start building out your pro forma from there.
Well, and I think
Moving
something
forward,
that
if
you,
rents will go high or go up and projected.
I
cap
think you
rates and
mentioned
stuff.
something. You said it though, is there are investments that are long term, but there you also have multiple streams of rent, multiple streams of income from that one, and that's where you get into that house hacking idea, where you're going to buy a duplex, you're going to live in one side and then rent out the other, and that other side of the rent is going to supplement yours. That I think is a whole nother realm of investment than kind of that short term versus long term secondary property. Because if you have somebody that's looking, and I think this breaks down to kind of where we've been going of, I want to buy a secondary property. I want that to be my vacation home that I stay in. I want to have it as a short-term rental so I can make something on it, or I just want to have a long-term tenant in there that is going to, I'm going to sit and I'm going to gain value on the equity of the home
I think
over time.
so. Back to where Jameson was alluding to this, I think pro forma would be more inapt to do a deep dive on short term.
Yep.
Because you're going to have more variables like vacancies, seasonality, and price increases during that time.
Yep.
Then a long term, I think a long term pro forma is simple. What's your net operating income?
Exactly.
What's your net operating expense? There you have it. That's pretty cut and dry. And then because obviously market rents are going to go up and down, but they're further along, like a year or so. They're not month to month like on a short term. If you get like hot convention season, which is what, March,
Yep.
February, whatever, in town, you're probably going to hike the rents up a little bit and
Correct.
go with hotels. And then during the off season, you're going to bring them down. Same with the ski season. During the winter, your rents are going to be way high, and during the summer, your rents are going to be way low. So with the long term, your rent's going to be fixed for 6 months to a year, and then you reevaluate the rents the following year. If they want to re-sign the lease, have that conversation with them, or you keep it the same for that because he was a good renter.
Well, and
So
here's a great example.
You cut your risk at that point.
And here's a great example from a long-term standpoint why we say it's not going to replace your 9 to 5 income. So that same example, the 450.
It can if you do a lot out of them.
Correct.
Well,
Yes,
that's
it's a
exactly.
volume
Yeah,
thing.
exactly. That's what I mean. Is we just said that you're going to make
But
an
on
extra
that
$28,000 a year.
$450,000 house, right? 3 bed, 2 bath, and you put 20% down, sometimes 25, just depends on what the lender is. So let's say you put 25% down, right, just to get your monthly payment. Now you're investing you're investing $115,000. Your mortgage payment on that, so your PITI, principal, interest, tax, insurance, is around for 25% down. It's about $2,900 a month. We just said you can rent it for maybe $32. So your cash flow before any expenses is $300
Monthly.
After expenses, you're probably closer to about $100 a month. Is that going to replace? No, you're making $1,200 a year.
So the way the way you look at that from a straight investment point of view is how much money? 100 down payment?
We'll go
20%.
We'll go 20% to $90,000.
$90,000. How much is $90,000 going to save in the safest bet, which is money market?
Probably a CD at this point at 5%.
Like safe.
4%.
It's not going to. How much are you going to get on that annually?
Right.
Because that's how they calculate it.
Yep.
Break it down, and then how much is that 90K going to acquire monthly? The catch is you got to factor in appreciation.
Yes.
And tax depreciation. So it's a better bet because you're going to make monthly income.
Correct.
It's going to be higher percentage.
Yes.
You're going to add your appreciation of value and your depreciation of taxes. So that's where you have to understand or talk to someone that could explain that to you.
Correct.
Not just, hey, buy this property, you're going to make $100 a month. I don't know if I want to. What if I need my 90K?
Well, no,
You could always and you could always lend against it and get your
Yes.
90K out.
Yes. Well, no, and I think this is a good place to kind of tie it in for the One Rock
Yeah,
takeaway
yeah.
because it's. I fear that the media and the social media of it all, the information that's out there, has made real estate investing into this goose egg, this golden egg, where you're going to invest, you buy real estate and then rent it because you're going to make so much money. And I think that if we can move into the One Rock takeaway.
Well, before we go that
Yeah.
really fast, because we didn't touch on this, and this was kind of where I was going to structure everything. But I'm glad you said it because you hit it the nail on the head. It's an elusive golden egg that it's unattainable. Well, there's now DSCR loans that might make sense. You can use those rents. If you have the money, you can use those rents to offset, your qualifications.
So can you DS
Debt service coverage ratio. So you can use the rents that you're potentially going to get to cover to qualify for the mortgage of this property.
Oh, that's scary though. That's taking a. The only reason I say that is in my mind, it's the Jay-Z. If you can't afford it, if you can't buy it twice, kind of a thing. So taking out the loan based specifically on what the opportunity of rent could be, especially in such a volatile market like real estate in general, that to me would be scary because I'd be saying, basically, I'm guaranteeing this payment based off of this rent. But what if, like in Denver specifically right now, but between 2024 and 2025, they're seeing an increase of 24% inventory and rental opportunities.
Correct. So these programs are typically for your investor that's leveraged and he's like, I know I could make this. I know I can make it happen. He needs an extra help with the qualifications. For example, you have a bunch of them. You know it can happen. You know what you're doing. You're going to take into consideration that risk, but your income doesn't. I mean, you're tapped out.
Well, and I think it just goes.
And these
into
are
non-QM. Well, I think it goes into it to any level of investment, whether it's real estate, stocks, shoes, whatever you consider an investment. Pokemon cards. There is a level of risk that you have to be okay with before making that leap and being an investor in anything, no matter what it is. And I think for me, that's kind of...
you buy that first card, next thing you know, you got to catch them all.
Yep.
Well,
Spending 20 grand on a card.
The DSCR loans, just to kind of simplify it, right? Essentially, it's very easy to calculate. So if you guys are looking at like, hey, you know what is it? Is it even worth looking at? It's a very simple formula. All it is is the monthly rental income, so gross rental income, divided by your PITI, your HOA, and that's it, and property taxes, right? So it's just PITI, HOA. So essentially, in our example that we've used, $450,000 house, if you wanted to buy that and use a DSCR loan, you would say, okay, I'm going to charge $3,200 a month. My mortgage is with 20% down, $3,000 a month. All they look at is the ratio. And if the ratio is 1 or above, you qualify. So in that scenario, let's just, for the listeners and viewers out there, you take your monthly rent, $3,200, you divide it by $3,095, which is what the PITI was, $3,095, you are at a 1.03, which means you would then qualify. You have to prove that that's the rental income, that's what it's going to be. But as long as you're above that ratio, then you qualify. You can get farther above that ratio with a larger down payment. So if you go from 20% to 25% on that same loan, now you go from a 1.03 to like a 1.1, which gives you a break on the interest rate, but it allows you to do that. So that's what that looks like. And they don't require personal income.
Wow.
Because again, but it makes sense.
You're leveraging
right?
against.
You're leveraging against the rental income.
And if you already have the money to purchase the property with that down payment, then
which is why it's not like. And the reason I bring that up is because you said, "Wow, that's scary."
Yeah.
It's really not, because they're saying, "Okay, you have to at least have 20% down. You have to at least prove that your market rent's $3,200,
So,
and we know what your mortgage is going to be based on that down payment. So we're good."
Yeah.
It's easier, believe it or not. Well, I don't want to say easier, but if you could put the deal together, you got a rental property.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's harder for you to qualify to buy your own house if you have the cash for it. And the way that I explain to buyers is that you're telling the bank a story. This is my credit. That means I've paid stuff on time. This is how much money I make and 50% of that can only go to the mortgage. And interest rates for the longest times were a risk factor, right? The higher the risk, the higher the interest rate. So a bank is more willing to let you borrow money. If I come to you and say, hey, Charlie, let me borrow $500,000. Well, you don't know me. Well, here's my story. How much are you putting down? Nothing. All right.
Yeah.
I'm a bit of a liability,
yeah.
because then you're going to get stuck with the property. But if I come back and I say, Charlie, let me borrow $500,000. Okay, here's my story. It looks good. How much skin in the game do you have? Well, I'm going to put 20% down. I'm less likely to walk away from my 20% than if I bought the house for $100,000.
Absolutely.
Or
To Oscar's point,
for $1,000.
same scenario. Let's say you do find a lender that will allow a 10% down payment for a secondary property, right? Well, the DSCR loan won't allow that, because if you put 10% down on that same property, your mortgage payment is $3,500 a month. You divide that by the $3,200 that you're charging in rent, you're under that one factor, which means you now know you can't qualify, right? So it is actually more. It sounds crazy.
It's more structure in place.
But there's a lot more structure and fail-safes in place, and it allows people, as long as they have $90,000. Like if I got $90,000 and I'm telling that same story to the bank, they're gonna be like, "Yo, high five, bro."
Here you go.
Love
Yeah,
it.
congratulations,
You
you
know
got it.
Good finding that deal.
So
Yeah.
yeah, no, I agree.
No,
and everybody makes the bank's in it for money.
Yeah,
Just
it's profit.
Yeah, it's profit. So they
Banks
want you
and
to have it. That's what I understand. A lot of these underwriters, right?
Yeah.
We're always griping about them. Damn underwriter. You got two kind of underwriters. You got the underwriters trying to get you to the table, and you got the underwriters trying to kill the deal. The ones that are trying to kill the deal, it's like, what are you doing? It's not your money. Don't take it personal. Second of all, the bank is paying you to invest their money to make money.
Make money.
Show
me the money.
Damn it.
I love it. All right. So I think let's go ahead and move into the one rock takeaway.
You take it first, hippie.
Yeah, I'm taking it first. So my one rock takeaway.
Cut those sideburns, hippie.
Right?
My one rock takeaway for today's episode is I'm just going to pull straight from what JMO said during the episode. If you're looking to invest, make sure you have a plan. Do not get blindsided and or too excited about the opportunity of having a secondary property to invest in it. Actually have a plan, know what you want to do. If you want to use it as a vacation rental, make sure that you can afford covering that and there's nobody living there monthly. If you want to make profit on it, plan your short-term rental, do the research necessary to find out what you're going to make from that, and see if the net sheet works. See if the investment is going to make you enough money and you're okay with putting out those costs in order to make that amount of money per month. From the hippie standpoint, I don't know. It's hard for me because if I have $90,000 to put down on an investment, in my mindset now and how I am now, I'd probably use that $90,000 to go on a trip and do something, and then use the other half of that $45,000 to.
I'm gonna say that's gonna be a hell of a trip.
I'm just saying.
I'm saying go buy an Airbnb in Ireland,
Yes.
and then
Yes.
you and Alicia have a vacation spot when you guys want to revisit where you got engaged.
Yeah.
Just throwing it out there.
You're right.
I mean, to add to it, you're saying have a goal.
Yeah. have
What's
a
the goal, and let us figure it out.
Yeah.
My goal is X. Well, here are the scenarios, and then once you do it once, then you don't have to restructure every time. This is what I want, and these are the numbers. Then we find the house that fit those numbers.
No, I honestly, Oscar, I love that because bringing it back to the fact that we say it all the time. There's specialists for a reason. There's realtors for a reason. There's people who know these markets for a reason. Lean on them, especially in investment ideas.
Yep.
I like it.
And I do mountain communities, and it's real estate's real estate on paper at the end of the day, but there's the nuances like topography and stuff like that, marketability. But I got hit with one this morning that I had no clue the ins and outs of a leach field. That's important to know.
Yeah.
And I mean, I know how a septic tank works, but they didn't certify the leach field because of the moisture in 2 weeks. So I was like, how do you fix that? I need to find out.
Wow.
I've never come across not being able to certify it, because usually the buyer takes care of it beforehand. And we're not supposed to be experts in the mechanics of the home, but we should know.
Yeah.
And that's when, same as this, a specialist would come in handy.
100%. JMO?
So I wrote these down, but I'm gonna go with my one rock takeaway is the 10 reasons I think, and the world thinks, the smart people than me, to invest in real estate. And we're just gonna go through the list.
Go for it.
Right? Number one, diversification. Diversify your investment portfolio. Super simple. Number two, it's an inflation hedge, right? homes appreciate. They've doubled every 10 years since 1950. It's an inflation hedge. 3, intuitiveness. People want to invest in things they're comfortable with. If you're a homeowner, you're comfortable with how the housing market works. So it's not like you're investing in Bitcoin or gold or treasury yields or foreign assets. Like, you know, your home, your neighborhood.
It's tangible.
Right? That's actually number 8. But yes, leverage, right? You can spend $90,000 to buy a $450,000 asset. Potential for improving assets. You can add on rooms. You can improve functionality. You can improve the yard. You can upgrade the bathroom, the kitchen, so on and so forth. Personal enjoyment, which we just talked about, right? If you do have a short-term rental, you can enjoy it. Potential for appreciation. Again, same thing. You're investing in something you know over the long term has always appreciated. Steady income stream, that cash flow, even if it's $100 versus $6,000.
You wake up or not, it's still going to come in.
It's mail money, right? Tangibility just means it's something you can physically hold. And then finally, tax benefits. And
I mean, you could hug. I don't know if you could hold it, but
like you could
tax benefits.
You could. I could hug a pillar in my house.
Yeah, you could hug.
And then tax benefits. Like, there's a ton of different tax benefits that you can take advantage of when you own real estate. Those are my 10. Research them, look them up, see if they make sense to you. But I am a firm believer, even as a mom and pop or owning 1 or 2 doors, if you own real estate, you will inherently be in a better position than 90% of the population.
The New Country song, you can buy dirt, or you should buy dirt.
Yeah, Luke Bryant, baby.
Luke Bryant.
So, I mean, you covered pretty much the whole gamut with your damn 10. So,
I mean, it was just an easy.
I'm just gonna say I'm with him.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's if you're in the mindset of
hold on, I speak from the perspective of somebody who has done investment properties, who owns investment properties. Let that be your one rock takeaway. As somebody who's experienced it, what would you say to somebody who's looking to invest?
Or hesitant to invest.
Yeah.
Well, if you have capital, work with it. I mean, whenever I do my calculations in the past, when I've done fix and flips, high risk, high reward, not necessarily. There's the deals that you can find. One of my first ones was a short sale that I came across. I knew the people. I saw the numbers. If we would have totally, and excuse my language, shit-canned it, we would have still walked away with a minimal profit. Mm-hmm. We did a good job. We walked away with a pretty damn good profit. Helped pay for my damn wedding at the time. So there's definitely going to be those deals where if there's a smart profit margin, and at the end of the day, you're going to win from the 10 lists that Jameson gave you. But if your money is going to be pretty damn safe in real estate, unless something catastrophic happens, that's in anything. Right now, the stock market's taking a plunge. And I said I wouldn't go into politics because I've gotten beat up a little bit on both sides, from my left side friends and my right side friends. They both beat up on me, and I don't even give a shit.
It's like the Keep It Shuffle right now.
Yeah, it's like, and at the end of the day, I don't really give a shit.
3 hops this time.
Those tariffs, they're wreaking havoc on the stock market, and now they're gonna wreak havoc on the farming market.
So glad I bought my car 3 weeks ago versus 3 weeks from now.
But the one thing is, parts. What is that going to look like? Mm-hmm. Oh, that's going to get ugly fast.
We're going to see where it's going to go.
Yeah,
maybe that's next week's. We'll take a break from the politics.
Yeah, right? I always say stay hopeful. Fuck, I'm going to get beat up for that too.
Right.
But anyway, my one rock takeaway is if you have a little bit of money burning a hole in your pocket, I think real estate's a safe bet when done right.
Or just invest, right? Like, how many times?
Invest.
And you know this, and this is not racist at all. Promise. Looking at the camera, it's not.
Maybe a little bit.
But I just want to say minority community in general doesn't inherently trust banks. I'm saying that from my Puerto Rican side.
Oh, 100%.
Right? But so you hear a lot
anybody
of people,
from other countries, anybody that migrates here from other countries, most of them do not trust financial institutions.
Right. But what I'm saying is you hear a lot of stories about people having this cash and then stuffing it.
Mattress money.
Under the mattress, right? But it's because people don't understand inflation. And if your $90,000 now sits under your mattress and we have, call it 3%, 2% inflation, every year from today until the day you die, that 90,000 gets 2% less valuable every single year. So don't be afraid to invest. If it's not real estate,
So
cool.
are you saying
Find
that
a way to invest
an
ETFs,
investment combats inflation?
Yep.
It does.
Don't let your money get beat up by inflation. Invest it into something that's going to at least combat the inflation percentage.
I love it.
And no, I think it's not racist. It's a true
No, it's a real
statement.
thing. That's what I'm
It's
saying.
a
Like,
real
my
thing.
family-
I'm actually
Yeah.
doing a first-time investor seminar in Spanish.
Nice.
I'll have all the stuff up. I'll put it on social media. We'll have it on a link here. I'm going to do a test run. Maybe I shit can it. I don't know, guys. Let me know what you think. If you can't come out, that'll be the dates. It's going to be April 3rd and the 4th. One in Denver, one in the Springs. Even if you're not Spanish speaking, the numbers are not,
Yeah, I like it.
numbers are numbers. They're not Spanish or English. They're numbers. So
This house is 4.6 million pesos.
All right.
yeah, we're not doing
So-
currency. It's all in dollars. But no,
love it.
I think it's not racist. I think you've nailed it. It's something that needs to be.
I love it.
Needs to be said.
All right. So let's go ahead and move into our bourbon review for today's episode.
It's great, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for where to reach us.
Thanks, Tony the Tiger.
Great.
I think I've had enough bourbon at this point, whiskey at this point, at certain price points, that, and you guys know, I'm the one that's like, I hate the standard top shelf bourbons, especially Blanton's. I think I'm going to throw Eagle Rare in there with it. Don't get me wrong.
Blanton's?
Yeah.
Why?
With how I feel about it.
It's $50 for the
It-
bottle.
If you could find it.
If you could find it for 50, I'm seeing 65 to 75.
No, you can find it. 50.
Is-
It should be the retail on it's 50.
It should be 50.
Just saying. It
But
is.
that's and again, we're not. I don't want to do the politics of it, but this is a red state bourbon, which Canada is going to put it at 75% tariff on, 25, whatever it may be. So prices
Yeah, but that
are gonna go
affects
up.
Canada.
No, it affects us.
No, it doesn't.
They're not. They're going to stop buying. They're going to make it cost more
For them to buy it.
for them, to send it in.
Yeah.
Which again is going to slow down the demand.
I don't think it'll slow down. The demand.
Either way,
that-
either way,
Maybe the
for
price
me-
will go down.
Yeah.
hopefully.
I was going to say, I don't. If anything, it'll bring the price down for us.
Yeah.
All right. So I
mean-
okay. I hope that happens.
We're gonna pay
For
more
me-
for a Crown Royal, but who's buying Crown Royal?
For me, this is exactly what I said at the beginning. Though, is it scared me? I don't. Hold on. Hold on. I think it opened for the worse.
Okay.
Only because I feel like you said it's gonna get sweeter. I feel like it got more sour.
Try
It
that.
got. I'm gonna agree with you. It did get a little more bitter.
Yeah. I'm gonna hold on. Let me try JC's glass.
And
Ethanol is still there. The alcohol is still there on the nose.
and you two could beat me up for this statement, but I think a good cheap bourbon that holds its own and just doesn't waver the path is larceny. I like to
Okay,
I-
so-
for price point, I like to always come back to that.
Sipping JC's glass that stayed open, that wasn't touched, swirled, whatever it may be. Still there on the nose. Lost a little bit of the nose profile. Kind of with that open up. It's not as bitter as mine, but again, I don't think it has the complexity that I wanted
That's fair.
at the end.
That's fair.
I'll say that.
Yeah, that's fair.
I
agree
do
with that.
I do think that this stands true to a bourbon flavor, a bourbon taste, and that's why it is what it is. That's why it's Eagle Rare. That's why it's a staple on the top shelf. I just wish that it would have done a little bit more. If I'm going to give it a rock rating, only because it had so much honey, so much of that oak that could have rounded itself out. I think it kind of fizzled out for me over time. So I think with this one, it's still a good bourbon, still has the flavor there. And again, most of the time, this isn't going to sit for an hour, 10 minutes.
Sure.
So I think I'm gonna put it at a 3.3, 3.4.
Okay.
I'm gonna agree with Charlie. I've never let Eagle Rare sit out for this long. I'm usually getting all the flavor notes that we had initially throughout my pour, which, I mean, JMO and I probably drink about the same pace. So I've always regarded it as a good bottle, which I still do. Within the line of a Buffalo Trace, Eagle Rare is. I'm throwing it in the Blanton's area too, just because people have made it. If we could just find it across the board for $40-$50,
Sure. Yeah.
I'd have a different opinion. But if I'm spending $70, $80, $90, I'm going EH all day. EH Taylor is just one of my favorites, or even just Buffalo Trace. It just
I was
going
to say that the barrel pick Buffalo that we had, I think was better than this.
But I also have my emotional ties to Eagle Rare. It was one of the first good bourbons that I've had. It's always been a staple around my friends. So that I can't rate it bad because of that. And the juice inside is good. It really is. It did get a little sour towards the end. It dissipated on all of the strong points at the beginning, but it's still not bad. It's still really good. I gave it 3.5. Oh wait, I got to do my.
Hey, there it is.
So I've cheated on this.
I'm getting a tablet.
I like Eagle Rare. I really do. It's one of my favorites. From price point, I think it's great.
You ever put rocks in it?
Yeah, I'll put a single rock.
I was gonna say because maybe the rock would help.
It does. It
You know-
definitely does.
yeah.
I would agree with that.
I've never made an old fashioned out of Eagle Rare.
No, I have not either.
I don't know that I would.
Not with the sweetness up front. That I'd make a Manhattan right out of the gate, 100% with Eagle Rare, because I think that the vermouth would complement that sweetness, that
A
honey
mint julep.
caramel. Yeah. Oh man, this would be phenomenal.
Yep.
Like a summer day.
I don't have my pen, so it's not gonna work. Anyway,
Okay.
so and this is before this podcast was even a thought in my brain. We did a blind tasting with Blanton's, Eagle Rare, Buffalo Trace, not Barrel Select, just Buffalo Trace, E.H. Taylor, George T. Stagg, and Weller 107. Okay.
Paid for this. Jesus.
It's a group effort.
It was at Joey's place in Missouri.
Dang.
Yeah. So
You
obviously
guys dropped
him
some
and
coin.
well, him and JC have the bourbon collection of all collections, and his buddy who's a loan officer, Derek, brought his collection down. Anyway, we went to his house and we had the girls pour, and didn't tell us what was what, and then we had all of the shit lined up with numbers, and we ranked them. Then we did a forced ranking. Out of all of those, the bourbon that came in last, out of all the ones I just said, what do you think it was?
Weller.
Eagle Rare.
Eagle Rare. Huh.
I mean,
Yeah, I don't know, man.
Stag is a pungent,
Yeah.
good bourbon. It's you know you're drinking Stag. You said Blanton's too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it would all kind of mix in when you're doing like Blanton's, Eagle Rare, and
We did.
Weller.
I mean, we went through
but like
water, cleanse the palate,
E.H.
everything.
Taylor, Stag. I mean, those are
those are hefty. They're
those are
gonna grab you.
bourbons. You know, wow.
And again, I think standard Buffalo Trace, for me, I have a better time drinking it.
So I'm gonna give
I agree.
this a 4.
Yep.
I'm gonna tell you why. When you put a
I was gonna give
stamp
it a
on
4,
something,
but I didn't want to be that harsh.
Yeah.
no, but when you
felt bad.
when you put a stamp on something, and say it's 10-year, you expect a certain outcome.
Yeah.
Right. So if you compare it to an not E.H. Taylor, like a Buffalo Trace that's aged for what? Minimum 3,
Yeah. 3.
and it has more complexity than this.
Like I said, that barrel pick blew me away.
You know what I'm saying?
It
Now,
was
if I can buy
delicious.
this, at $50, cool.
All day.
Yeah.
If I'm buying it at 60 or 70, I'm choosing something else.
It ends up it opened up.
I mean,
I will say
kind of-
Dude,
on ice, it does open up more.
the 3 chord that
But
we had
yes.
last week
Yeah,
was
don't tell
55-60.
Don't tell Oscar about that.
We'll
Would you
talk
rate
about
it?
it after.
Would you rate it?
We're
Like 2 point.
2.2, 2.3.
So
It
this
was so good,
it
and it
oh,
was 112
Yeah.
proof.
oh dang.
Yeah, and it tasted better than this.
Yeah.
I like Eagle Rare. I do, and I have an affinity towards it. I'll
Again,
drink it if
there-
I can buy it at 50
It
bucks.
is made for the market that it sits
Yes,
in.
I
It's
just-
100%.
I haven't had Eagle Rare in a very long time.
Yeah.
Now, since we've been doing this podcast for a while and we've had a lot of different bourbons, I still have my respect for it. I have my memories. I have all of that. I enjoy it, but it is now. I'm glad we did this.
If this was 15 years ago,
I
when
would
the
be
bourbon
like,
market,
whoa.
when the bourbon market
It's
was
just,
not
dude,
what it was, what it is now.
It's a 10-year, right?
Yeah,
so I
right.
look at it and go,
Yeah,
like we had McKenna 10-year,
Yep.
better.
Yep.
We had Elijah Craig, Private Barrel Selects 10-year, better. Like you just expect a
little more.
bit
Yeah.
more. And I think, and I disagree with you on this. I don't think it got worse as it opened up, but it didn't add anything.
Well,
It just stayed the same.
and it
Okay.
it got a little.
You know what I'm
I
saying?
did taste the slight more bitter.
Yeah.
And I kind of, this is going to get put in the same category as Basil Hayden for me.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm probably not going to
The
buy
Basil
it.
Hayden 10-year, remember?
Yeah. Yeah. That exactly.
Which you missed that episode too,
Yeah, I
actually.
did too.
Yep.
And
The
it was
ba-
like,
yeah.
it's 10, but why?
Yeah.
So now
exactly.
the question is, I don't know that I would go out of my way to find or seek out the 20-year. I'm curious.
I would like to.
Just
I'm
to see.
curious.
I would like
Yeah.
to see.
just to see.
I would like to
What
see.
would
Especially
an extra
if it's-
10 years do to this?
I don't know.
Especially if it's the same distillery that does Pappy,
Right.
and they're saying that Eagle Rare 20
Or 25.
or 25, whatever. Like, I'd want to try it just to be like, okay, I
Now, I have
compared
had
this.
double Eagle Rare,
Yeah.
and I would. That is
That
a
would
good
fit
one.
that. Okay, but
That's
if you
a good
take
one.
this and double it, it would be way more complex. It would be
Right.
way, yeah, 100%. Great.
So, yeah.
Great, guys.
Yeah.
I like it. It's cool. It's a lot of memories with the bottle. At this point of my juncture with bourbon, if I could buy it for $40, I'll buy it.
Yeah.
Anything over $40-$50, I'm leaving it right
no,
on
I'll
that
walk
shelf.
away. Yeah, 100%.
Agreed.
100%. With that being said, guys, like I said, you can always come here to the Rouge. They have an extensive list of bourbons that you can try. You can try it a pour. You could buy a bottle.
And don't rely on the online menu.
Yes.
They have a ton more.
Way more than what's online. Definitely come in and check them out. Get that special that they have going on with the green, yellow, and gold for $58, 2-ounce pours. Definitely take advantage of that because I know that if I would pay for the gold spot, and
Gold
if it
Spot
turned out
alone
like,
should be $50 a pour.
but if it turned out like this,
Did you guys try it?
I'd be upset.
No, but it's different, dude. I
yeah.
don't think we. Maybe this is off-camera topic. I just don't think we would enjoy it because Irish whiskey is just
totally different.
It's a different,
totally different.
It's a different
But,
monster.
Thank you guys for tuning in. As always, drop us a follow, like, subscribe to the channel to see all of the stuff that we have going on in 2025. Follow us along, get notifications on when new episodes drop. We do topics like this all the time. But you can always reach out to us on our own individual platforms. That's social media, wherever it is.
Oscar the Realtor CO.
You can find me at Charlie Sardelli, TikTok, Instagram. If you're looking for any video production, podcast info, you can find me at Beat the Jeans Productions.
and the Colorado real estate guy or Jameson Amros.
Love
Super
it.
simple.
Love
Yeah,
it.
Oscar Ibarra. I mean,
Yeah. If you want to get with us, ask us any questions about the podcast, give us recommendations, tell us what you want us to drink and try out and review, you can always reach out to us, resotr@themilehighperspective.com, or give us a phone call or a text,
720-584-3361.
and we'll get back to you guys. Seriously, thank you so much for all the support you've been giving us. We appreciate you more than you know. We look forward to doing this every week.
any and all comments are appreciated.
Yes.
Give us a call, drop us a comment. It's been the norm for me this week, even if you just want to yell at me over politics.
I love it. I love it. But on that note, guys, always drink responsibly, come out to the Rouge, have a good time. We will catch you later. Cheers.
Cheers.